And of course, the other news that's come out in the last day or two is apparently a deal has been done on the from at the World Health Organization, which Britain is absolutely part of.
Yes, yesterday, 20th of May in Geneva, the World Health Organization's member states quietly adopted the first ever international pandemic agreement, a global treaty that would reshape how public health, national law, and everyday freedoms operate in the future. Slovakia's abstention followed a challenge initiated by Prime Minister Robert Fico, who called for a formal vote rather than allowing the treaty to pass by consensus. Fico was known for his vaccine scepticism and concerns over national sovereignty. He instructed Slovakia's delegation to oppose the agreement. The WHO is not led by elected officials. You know, the Director General, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, holds office through diplomatic negotiation, not public vote. His record simply during the early COVID response sparked curious concerns about neutrality and transparency. We have to remember that there was no vote from the people on this, no heated debates, no parliamentary oversight, no public referendum. Instead, it was adopted by consensus, literally the backdoor method of agreement that allows governments, including the UK, to silently nod their approval without needing to explain themselves to the people they serve. And this is what we're finding across the board. The foundation of this treaty is the WHO's One Health framework, an ideology that links human health to animals, the environment, even agriculture and land use. Under a broad lens, almost anything can be rebranded as a health threat. Climate change, farming practices, land ownership, all potentially within the scope. This fits in, obviously, with the broader UN 2030 17 goals agenda. And while the WHO cannot directly overrule national laws, the treaty even creates binding international obligations. Governments can now use it to justify emergency laws, sweeping powers, social restrictions, all under the shield of international compliance or global coordination, they call it. Even more troubling is who pays for the WHO's bills. As of 2023, the largest funders weren't democratic governments. They were private powerhouses, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Gavi, and various UN agencies backed by corporate interests. These donors now help set global health priorities without a single vote cast by the public. Among the treaty's more alarming features is the proposed pathogen access and benefit sharing PABS system. This would give the WHO rights to collect pathogen samples from any country and control their distribution under equity rules. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? The treaty also pushes for digital health certificates, a polite phrase for what could soon become global digital IDs linked to your vaccination status. Not every country was on board, as I mentioned earlier, obviously, Slovakia, but nations like Poland, Russia, Italy, Iran also were raising the alarm during the negotiations. Their objections were loss of sovereignty, a vague legal language, and the growing power of unelected institutions. In the UK, meanwhile, the silence has been deafening. There's been no real debate in Parliament, no public consultation, no clear explanation from the Prime Minister or the Health Secretary. Britain simply slid into the agreement without your voice, without your vote or your knowledge in some cases. This treaty marks more than a shift in health policy. It signals a deeper transformation, the move from national governance to a transnational management system. Decisions that affect your life are increasingly made by technocrats, foundations, and global agencies, and people can't elect. These are people that you can't elect and you can't remove. So when COVID began, rapid emergency powers, top-down mandates, censorship, surveillance, the WHO Treaty now locks all those things into place internationally. Emergency governance is becoming the new normal. So here's a question we all must ask. If governments can sign binding global treaties without asking their people, who's really in charge during the next crisis? And there will be one, otherwise they wouldn't be doing all this. The answer increasingly is that you didn't vote for these people, and they cannot hold you to account. I mean, when I read the treaty, the takeaway for me reading it, and you can find it online, is the pandemic agreement does not include any provisions that would give the World Health Organization powers to impose domestic public health decisions in the UK. The sovereignty of states is one of the guiding principles of the agreement. So bearing that in mind, knowing that we're getting these consensuses globally, locally, that are not representative of the people they serve, this is all basically relying on our compliance, and we have to remember that. What do you think?
Sandy, thank you. Thank you for that. I think that's absolutely right. I mean, the UK government did release a press release to say that they had joined this, that they had signed and so on. But they, as you say, there was very little, if any, real mainstream coverage on it. And certainly the implications haven't been discussed in the mainstream media, and there is no national debate or discussion about it. So, I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, it's nothing to do with health. I mean, I think that's the first thing to point out. And this is exactly what we saw in 2020. And people were blindsided, by and large, by what happened in the name of health. And this is just an extension of that. And of course, we mustn't forget that that's where this is traced back to in the immediate term. I mean, I think, we can talk more about this in extra, but this says an awful lot more about the way that wider government of society is, well, I say working. I mean, it's not working because, as Sandy described, it's completely back to front. So I think there's this should absolutely send a shiver down people's spines if they're considering that we do live in a society where we, as the people who pay for and vote for elected representatives, are in any way in charge of what happens to us.
Yes, thank you. Oh, okay, well, let's move on. If you like what the UK Column does, we do need your support. I want to say a massive thank you to everybody that does support us. But if you go to our support page, you can make a donation there. You could join as a member. And if you do join as a member, you get access to view members-only content like UK Column News Extra and so on. Picking something up at the shop, of course, helps us as well. And if you buy something from Clive de Carl using the link on this page, then we do get a small commission for everything that you buy from him. But if you can't do that, please do share the material you find on the UK Column website. Share links are available, and that is massively helpful to get around the censorship regime in this country and around the world. Now, Christians in Cornwall.
Yes, indeed. Now, this is an interview with an accompanying article. It's about Truro Diocese, and it relates to the On the Way plan, which, to all intents and purposes, extends the lockdown policies in an effort to destroy congregations and Christian worship under the false pretext of a lack of funds, really diverting money towards the absurd net zero agenda and how to sort of push back via the PCCs. So worth getting into. And then next, an article about the steel, what's happened with the steel industry, and a description of the process by which government may purport to act in support of an entity or industry whilst actually doing everything in its power to subvert it. So a cautionary tale from a legislative and policy perspective.
And we shouldn't pass by the fact that you wrote it.
I did write it.
Yes, yeah. Okay. And Jerem tonight is going to be talking about the Titanic conspiracy. I'm going to be very interested in watching this because my uncle was the man who project managed the building of the massive cranes at Harland Wolff shipyard, where, of course, the Titanic was built. And while he was there in the 60s and 70s, the stories of the so-called Titanic conspiracy were absolutely rife at then. And of course, this is well before the internet ever happened. So watch Jerem's interview tonight at 7 p.m. live with John Hamer, if you can possibly join. I'm sure the discussion will be interesting. Now, a reminder of Stand in the Light is taking place this weekend in Gilgarran and Cumbria. So a last chance to get tickets and to go for that. So if you possibly can, get along to it. A reminder of the Sounds Beautiful Festival taking place in Wimborne and Dorset, 26th to 29th of June. And just to say that the ticket competition is now over, and the winner is Gongster Joe on Facebook. And so well done for Gongster Joe for winning those 2 free tickets. Look forward to seeing you on at the Sounds Beautiful Festival in June.
Great.
Okay, let's move on then to